Hey everybody, Merry Christmas. Out here in the shop today, it's a balmy, well, it was uh, about 2 degrees Celsius. It had been minus 14 yesterday and day before minus 17. And so pretty chilly out here. Had to wear a hat and scarf to do work yesterday. Um, Finally, the heat's got the place warmed up. And so I'm out here where it's quiet and ready to read the next chapter of Waking the Dead for you. We're up to chapter 5, and I hope you're all well. And so here we go. Here's the first half of chapter 5, the glory hidden in your heart. The Lord their God will save them on that day as a flock of his people. They will sparkle in his land like jewels in a crown. How attractive and beautiful they will be. Zechariah 9. Those who look to him are radiant. Their faces were never covered with shame. King David, Psalm 34. Have you no other daughters? No, said the man. There's a little stunted kitchen wench, which my late wife left behind her, but she cannot be the bride. The king's son said he was to send her up to him. But the stepmother answered, Oh, no, she's much too dirty. She cannot show herself. But he absolutely insisted on it, and Cinderella had to be called. She first washed her hands and her face clean, and then went and bowed down before the king's son, who gave her the golden slipper. Then she seated herself on a stool and drew her foot out of the heavy wooden shoe and put it into the slipper, which fit like a glove. And when she rose up, and the king's son looked at her face, he recognized the beautiful maiden who had danced with him and cried, This is the true bride. The stepmother and her two sisters were horrified and became pale with rage. He, however, took Cinderella on his horse and rode away with her. I love this part of the story. To see the heroine unveiled in all her glory, to have her finally rise up to her full height, mocked, hated, laughed at, spit upon. Cinderella is the one the slipper fits. She's the one the prince is in love with. She's the true bride, just as we are. We, the ransomed church, are the bride of the king's son. Are we not? Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb. Revelation 21. We've been chosen by him. We are the object of his love. You've stolen my heart with one glance of your eyes. Song of Songs 4. This fairy tale is true. I love it that in this passage from the original Cinderella, the king's son insisted she come out of hiding. Though her family would keep her in the cellar, he'll have none of that. Come out. You are mine. Let your light shine before men. Still, if I'm honest, I appreciate this story from a distance. The thought of me being called out of hiding is unnerving. I don't think I want to be seen. Many years ago, during my life in the theater, I received a standing ovation for a performance. The audience was literally on its feet cheering. What actor doesn't crave a standing ovation? So, you know what I did? I ran. Literally. As soon as the curtain went down, I bolted for the door. So I wouldn't have to talk to anyone. I didn't want to be seen. I know, it's weird, but I'll bet you feel the same about being unveiled. You probably can't imagine there being a glory to your life, let alone one that the enemy fears. But remember, things are not what they seem. We are not what we seem. You probably believed that your heart was bad too. I pray that fog of poison gas from the pit of hell is fading away in the wind of God's truth. And there's more. Not only does Christ say to you that your heart is good, he invites you now out of the shadows to unveil your glory. You have a role that you never dreamed of having. There's a beautiful scene toward the end of Joseph's life where he too is unveiled. The very brothers who sold him into slavery as a boy are standing before what they believe is an angry Egyptian lord, equal in power to Pharaoh himself. Their knees knocking, the silver cup of this dreaded lord was found stashed away in their luggage as they headed out of town, placed there by Joseph himself as a ruse. Now, Joseph interrogates them till they squirm, deepening the plot by using an interpreter as if he doesn't understand Hebrew, pressing them hard. Finally, unable to hold back his tears, he reveals himself. I am Joseph. Does my father still live? So you shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. Genesis 45, 3 and 13. This is who I really am. Tell him about my glory. Amazing. Much to everyone's surprise, Peter is unveiled at Pentecost with quite a sermon that brings 3,000 converts into the church. This from the man who denied Christ 3 times in his hour of need. Peter's buddies have had to have been thinking, whoa, where did that come from? And of course, Jesus himself, the carpenter's son, is unveiled on the Mount of Transfiguration for who he really is, the King of Glory. In a beautiful mythic parallel, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, the true heir to the throne of Gondor, is finally unveiled in the 3rd book of Tolkien's trilogy, aptly titled The Return of the King. For years upon end, he'd merely been known as Strider, a ranger, living out in the wilds, doing no one really knows what. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? The chief of the Dunedain, the last great king of the race of men, Aragorn, comes forward to take his rightful place. Thus came Aragorn, son of Arathorn, Elisar, Isildur's heir, out of the paths of the dead, borne upon the wind from the sea to the kingdom of Gondor. And the mirth of the Rohirrim was a torrent of laughter and flashing swords, and the joy and wonder of the city was a music of trumpets and a ringing of bells. But the hosts of Mordor were seized with bewilderment, and a great wizardry it seemed to them that their own ships should be filled with their foes, and a black dread fell on them, knowing that the tides of fate had turned against them and their doom was at hand. But before all went, Aragorn, with the flame of the west, Andúril, like a new fire rekindled, Narsil, reforged as deadly as of old, and upon his brow the star of Elendil. The day has come, and the morning star has risen, never to set again. This unveiling, this coming into your glory, this is inevitable for the ransomed heart. If you'll recall, Moses put a veil over his face. That, too, was a picture of a deeper reality. We all do that. We have all veiled our glory, or someone has veiled it for us, usually some combination of both, but the time has come to set all veils aside. Now, if the ministry that brought death which was engraved in letters on stone, came with glory so that the Israelites could not look steadily at the face of Moses because of its glory. Fading though it was, will not the ministry of the Spirit be even more glorious? Therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold. We are not like Moses, who put a veil over his face to keep the Israelites from gazing at it while the radiance was fading away. And we, who with unveiled faces all reflect the Lord's glory, being transformed into his likeness with ever increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. 2 Corinthians chapter 3. We are in the process of being unveiled. We were created to reflect God's glory, born to bear his image, and he ransomed us to reflect that glory again. Every heart was given a mythic glory, and that glory is being restored. Remember the mission of Christ. I have come to give you back your heart and set you free. For as St. Irenaeus said, the glory of God is man fully alive. Certainly you don't think the opposite is true. How do we bring God glory when we're sulking around in the cellar, weighed down by shame and guilt, hiding our light under a bushel? Our destiny is to come fully alive, to live with ever-increasing glory. This is the third eternal truth every good myth has been trying to get across to us. Your heart bears a glory, and your glory is needed now. This is our desperate hour. No good thing. In an attempt to explain the biblical doctrine of sin, we've let something else creep in. You'll hear it come up almost automatically whenever Christians talk about themselves. Just a sinner saved by grace. I'm just clothes for God to put on. There sure isn't anything good in me. It's so common, this mindset, this idea that we're no good wretches, ready to sin at a moment's notice, incapable of goodness, and certainly far from any glory. It's also unbiblical. The passage people think they are referring to is Romans 7:18, where Paul says, "For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing." Notice the distinction he makes. He doesn't say there is nothing good in me, period. What he says is that in my flesh dwelleth no good thing. The flesh is the old nature, the old life crucified with Christ. The flesh is the very thing God removed from our hearts when he circumcised them by his Spirit. In Galatians, Paul goes on to explain, those who belong to Christ Jesus were crucified, who have crucified the sinful nature, which it's with its passions and desires. 5:12. One second. There we go. I am incapable of good, he says. In my flesh dwelleth no good thing. In fact, just a few minutes later, he discovered that the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus has made me free from the law of sin and death. Romans 8. Yes, we still battle with sin. Yes, we still have to crucify our flesh on a daily basis. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the sinful nature, you will live. Romans 8. We have to choose to live from the new heart. And our old nature doesn't go down without a fight. I'll say more about that later. For now, the question is on the question on the table is, does the Bible teach that Christians are nothing but sinners, that there is nothing good in us? The answer is no. You have a new heart. Your heart is good. That sinful nature you battle is not who you are. Twice in the famous chapter of Romans 7, where Paul presents a first-person angst about our battle against sin, he says, "But this is not my true nature. This is not my heart." As it is no longer I myself who do it, but it is sin living in me. I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is the sinful nature in me that does it. For in my inner being, I delight in God's law. Verses 17, 18, 20, and 22. Paul is making a crucial distinction. This is not me. This is not my true heart. Listen to how he talks about himself in other places. He opens every letter by introducing himself as Paul, an apostle, not as a sinner, but as an apostle, writing to the saints. Dump the religiosity and think about this mythically. Paul, appointed as a great one in the kingdom, is writing other great allies of the kingdom. How bold of him. There's no false humility, no groveling. He says, surely you have heard about the grace that was given to me for you. That is, the mystery made known to me by revelation, as I have already written briefly. In reading this, then, you will be able to understand my insight into the mystery of Christ, which was not made known to men in other generations, as it has now been revealed to me. Ephesians 3. Paul is unashamed to say that he knows things no man before him knew. He even assumes they've heard about him, the mysteries revealed to him. That is part of his glory. His humility comes through clearly. In that, he quickly admits that it's all been a gift, and in fact, a gift given to him for others. And listen to the way he talks about us. You shine like stars in the universe as you hold out the word of life. Sean Mullins sings, "We're born to shimmer. We're born to shine. You were supposed to shimmer. Let your light shine before men." Matthew 5. All this groveling and self-deprecation done by Christians is often just shame masquerading as humility. Shame says, I'm not looking at. I'm nothing to look at. I'm not capable of goodness. Humility says, I bear a glory for sure, but it is a reflected glory. The grace given to me. Your story doesn't begin with sin. It begins with a glory bestowed upon you by God. It doesn't start in Genesis 3. It starts in Genesis 1. First things first, as they say. Certainly, you'll admit that God is glorious. Is there anyone more kind? Is there anyone more creative, more valiant, more true, more daring? Is there anyone more beautiful? Is there anyone more wise? Is there anyone more generous? You are his offspring, his child, his reflection, his likeness. You bear his image. Do you remember that though he made the heavens and the earth in all their glory, the desert and the open sea, the meadow and the Milky Way, and said, it is good. It was only after he made you that he said, it is very good. Genesis 1:31. Think of it. Your original glory was greater than anything that's ever taken your breath away in nature. For As for the saints who are in the land, they are the glorious ones, in whom is all my delight. Psalm 16. God endowed you with a glory when he created you, a glory so deep and mythic that all creation pales in comparison, a glory unique to you, just as your fingerprints are unique to you, just as the way you laugh is unique to you. Somewhere down deep inside, we've been looking for that glory ever since. A man wants to know that he's truly a man, that he could be brave. He longs to know that he is a warrior. And all his life, he wonders, have I got what it takes? A woman wants to know that she is truly a woman, that she is beautiful. She longs to know that she is captivating, and all her life she wonders, do I have a beauty to offer? The poet Yeats wrote, if I make the lashes dark, the eyes more bright, and the lips more scarlet, or ask if all be right, from mirror after mirror, no vanity displayed, I'm looking for the face I had before the world was made. Yes, that's it. When you take a second glance in the mirror, when you pause to look again at a photograph, when you're looking for glory you know you were meant to have, if only because you know you long to have it, you remember faintly that you were once more than what you have become. Your story didn't start with sin, and thank God it doesn't end with sin. It ends with glory restored. Those he justified, he glorified, Romans 8. And in the meantime, you have been transformed, and you are being transformed. You've been given a new heart. Now God is restoring your glory. He's bringing you fully alive, because the glory of God is you fully alive. I'll stop there for tonight. That's midway through chapter 5, and I'll pick up the second part of chapter 5 in the next recording and post it for you. I hope you're all having a wonderful holiday week. Hag Hanukkah Sameach to all of you. I know it's ending today, but I hope you've had a wonderful holiday week, and the blessings and the miracles that all come with that. And I pray for you guys every night. You're always in my heart, always in my thoughts. And so I'll just continue to bless you with these readings. I hope you're enjoying them, and we'll see you next time. Love you guys.